Hello friends, I am Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am professor at Gurugram University. I am very happy to be present here to talk about barriers in communication. So, this is the second part of the topic. In the first part, we have already talked about semantic barriers, psychological barriers, and now at this moment we are going to talk about three types of barriers: emotional barriers, cultural barriers, and physiological barriers. So, all that things which become as a hindrance in understanding the message of the speaker is taken as a barrier. This is what we discussed few minutes ago, right? So, taking the topic further, we are going to take up the first thing, emotional barriers, or which we may call it as personal barriers. So, these are the barriers or the hindrances which are caused by feelings one has, right? So, not because of the thoughts of the person, but the feelings, because psychologists, they differentiate between feelings and thoughts. So, that's how, basis on that differentiation which psychologists have laid down, we take barriers separately, emotional barriers separately, then the psychological barrier. So, psychological barriers were discussed in the first half, and at this moment we will take up the emotional barriers. Okay. So, now let's take the first reason or first emotional barrier which can actually cause ineffective communication. The first barrier I would like to take under this heading is beliefs. So, we have certain beliefs about a subject matter. We have certain beliefs about a topic. We have certain beliefs about a person. We have certain beliefs about a country. We have certain beliefs about a community. So we have certain beliefs about a gender, about females, about males. So those beliefs can cause ineffectiveness in communication. This beliefs is an emotion. Basically, we have certain beliefs basis on our past experience, basis on the exposure we have, the country we live in, the social economic background we come from, the education we have. All these are the reasons which make somebody to believe something, right? So our beliefs they do develop over time, right? But because of these factors I am causing. So I will not dwell into those factors because that is not the subject matter for this day. But our beliefs, if we have a belief about something, we will not listen to what person is saying. We will take it in the way we wish to. We will take up the matter in the way we believe is correct, right? So that is the first emotional barrier in the effective communication, on the way of effective communication. The second is fear. But the people who have fear, they may not, they would be under their fear only. They may, so let's say somebody is talking to you, you are your teacher. Nowadays we don't come across such situation where students were beaten in the classroom, with a stick. Teacher used to come in the sticks. We used to hear these stories from our father, right? So if we take the example of a classroom of those days and teachers who coming with stick, imagine what will happen. There would be few students certainly in the classroom who would just be scared of that when this stick will come on my hand. Imagine the state of affair of that child who is in the classroom. Luckily that culture is not there anymore in any school, and most of the teachers are very respectful, very caring about the kids' needs of being loved, being listened, being taken care of well. But this is a fact, right? So that is one example. There are many families even as of now where kids have fear of their father. Fathers do beat their children. Mothers may beat their children. Grandparents, anybody in the family may beat up. Think about that child. He or she would be so much scared when the father comes in front of him. He may not be able to pay attention to the words. Listening can never be effective if that emotion of fear is in the mind of a child. Believe me or not, if any parent is listening to me, please pay attention to what I am saying. If your child is fearful of your presence, fearful of your thoughts, your behavior, your conduct, he will never be able to listen to the exact meaning, and that is the beginning of the communication gap, and if the communication gap is there amongst the child and a parent, it leads to many more problems. So one example was of the classroom of the past days. Another example I took of a parent, right, whom a child is very fearful. So that causes a issue. Whatever, there could be a good day that you as a parent want to counsel your child for something, but child is so much fearful of your past behavior or your conduct with him or her in the past, that child may not be able to pay attention to what you are saying at this moment. You may not be shouting, you may not be scolding the child at this moment, but that fear which he has developed over time because of your past behavior may not let the child understand the message of the subject you are addressing, right? Then anxiety. There are many people who have anxiety about certain things. Anxiety to meet a girl for a date, or for a girl to meet a boy for a date, right? Anxiety to speak in public, anxiety to deal with a particular situation, anxiety to deal with certain set of people. It could be anything. Anxiety to actually present in front of people, make a presentation. So people who have anxiety about certain things, so this is an emotion. Anxiety is an emotion. Causes are so many. Those psychologists would be discussing them. But that if somebody has anxiety about anything, he or she is not supposed to be a good listener. That anxiety causes an issue between effective communication, right? Person is so anxious about something that he is not able to pay attention to the words the speaker is saying. He is not able to pay attention to the body language of the person, because listening is not all about the words, right? It's not hearing I'm talking about listening, and we have addressed in the past that listening and hearing are two different activities. Hearing just a physical activity, whereas listening is a mindful activity, right? It's not only the body or your ears are involved, your emotions are involved. The whole body, it's a whole body activity. Not only the ears are involved. Then the excitement. Let's say I'm so excited about the result I received a few minutes ago. I'm so excited that my girlfriend accepted my proposal. I'm so excited that my teacher complimented today to me, or my father applauded about my achievement. So I'm so excited that somebody is saying something. You may hear the word congratulation from your friend, but you may not hear the complete sentence. You are so excited. Such emotions actually causes or become hindrance, become barrier in the effective communication. Your boss said congratulations, but after that he said something very important. You did not pay attention, you could not hear because you were so excited about the results you just received, or the applaud the audience made about your presentation. So you become so excited that you miss to hear few things, and this is a reality, right? And same thing may happen if you are in anger, if you are very angry about something. So if you are in anger, you may not be able to pay attention of the person who is on the opposite side, who is speaking, right? So anger is an emotion, as we all know, and this emotion can become a very big hindrance, very big barrier in effective communication, in effective listening, in fact. Alright, the next point is sad memories. People who have sad memories, somebody who just lost his father to cancer, what will happen? The person would be, in his thoughts, would be thinking about his dad, about the pain he has faced in his last days. So he has those sad memories and he's busy with those feelings. He's thinking about those memories. So that is an emotion. Those sad memories is also an emotion, right? So this becomes a barrier in effective listening. You may not be able to listen to what person is saying, right? So the last point in this category is attitude to others. So our attitude is caused by so many things, but our attitude to other is something which decides that you would become a good listener or not. So attitude to listening is an important thing. I personally have seen in myself that my attitude, so I respond quickly, though this is not under this head. So I used to respond very fast because I can comprehend things more effectively than maybe few other people. Or it's a relative word, we all know that, right? So but I worked on it and I could come over, or I'm still pay attention to this thing, that do I respond more fast than the other people, which you can think. So your attitude to other is that you will just not let the person finish the sentence and you will respond fast. You have an attitude that you are disrespectful to women, you are disrespectful to people of a particular community, right? So you will not attend or give attention to what he or she is saying if you have that attitude. So this was the emotional category. I would like to move to the another category, social cultural barriers. This category basically talks about, or this category deals with those barriers which are caused because of the social cultural issues. So let's say there's a difference in different cultures. The different culture would actually cause barrier, especially at a workplace or in personal life too. Let's say there's a social status of a person that there's a practice that you can't reply to your boss. This is a practice, right? It's in one culture, in one society. In another society, you can actually talk to your boss very easily. And this is a reality. There are certain countries where there's no problem that you can challenge your boss, you can talk to your, so such kind of culture is there. But there are countries and places where you can't. So this will become a hindrance. This is a social culture barrier which will cause, which will lead to ineffective communication or ineffective listening for sure. Let's say there's a issue which, like a religion. In certain religions, men cannot shake hand with women, right? And in other religion, it is allowed. It is it's a practice. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. So it's a religious difference, right? So how can it become a barrier in listening? So let's say somebody was trying to say something along with was trying to shake hand. So the person who who tried to shake hand with the women, but the women did not she didn't shake hand with the person, but parallelly they were speaking as well. There was some greetings also going on. So the speaker said something, but the listener could not take it well because of this gap. Because there was a gap, there was no practice of shaking hand, and so this will cause to ineffective listening, right? There's so many examples we can take which are around us because of the social or the cultural issues and or religious issues, and that becomes a barrier in the listening. Personal space, public space, that's another issue. So we have, let's say, there are certain cultures where the premium to personal space is given so much more than to other cultures, right? So in families, in friends, personal space, so it has been said, so person will not listen to if the somebody's personal space is actually compromised, some public space is compromised. So person will not be able to listen effectively if there is some kind of abuse to personal space happening, abuse to public space is happening, right, or some kind of compromise is happening there. So that is a social culture barrier. And the last point under this category I would like to make is the sense of time, right? So sometimes a person has no sense that I should say this at this point of time or not. So person may say that, and the other person who is on the listening, on the receiving end, may not pay attention because that was not the right time, right? Let's say somebody is in prayer and the practice is that when somebody is in the prayers, other person should not come and speak something, but the person doesn't have the sense that this is not the right time. So what will happen? The other person who was in the prayers will not listen, will not be able to listen, because he will like to close his ears, mentally he will like to close himself from that speech, whatever has come to him, or that statement, whatever has come to him or her, right? So these are the social, cultural, religious issues which causes barrier or which become barrier in the communication. Now we will take the last category of barriers, which are physiological barriers. Under that we will take up 4 points: hearing impairment, tiredness, pain and hunger, right? So what is hearing impairment? This is, we all know, this is a medical issue. This is illness. Somebody may have hearing impairment. So person cannot hear completely, cannot hear partially, one ear is working, another is working. Person is having impairment and is without any aid, hearing aid, or person is with partial aid. So that becomes a barrier. So this is something physiological barrier, and certainly listening may not be effective as for a normal person. Then tiredness. If somebody is tired, physically so much tired, right? Let's say I am so much tired that I am feeling sleepy, right? I am just like doing my, a kind of I'm off the thinking, off the listening at all. So what will happen? I'm so tired that I won't be able to listen whatever you said. I may not be sleepy, but I'm exhausted. I'm completely exhausted. This is a physical situation, right? Physical state of affair, that a person is so tired, so exhausted, is sleepy or may not be sleepy but just exhausted. So the message doesn't get through completely, right? Then the another point is that I have some physical pain. I got hurt. There was an accident. In the accident I got hurt. So somebody came for help, is asking me, please share the number of your husband, please share the number of your family members so that I could communicate. But I am in so much pain that I am just not been able to concentrate or listen what the person is saying. It's a physical situation. It happens, right? So that is a physiological barrier. We can't hear properly. We can't pay attention to what the person is speaking. The last thing is hunger. Every time whenever we have a lecture during the lunchtime or close to lunchtime, as today, right? So students would say, "Ma'am, bus bhook lagi hai." This is a very common thing, we get to hear in classrooms, right? So, and this is a fact that if somebody is so much hungry, could not get he was trying to have food but couldn't get the food at time, and it's been 2-3 hours that he's in the auditorium listening to something, or in the lecture rooms listening to something, or at even home you couldn't get food. So your attention is more on your tummy, on the feel of hunger than what the speaker is saying. And this is a fact, this happens. So these are the physiological barriers, be it pain, tiredness, and be it your hearing impairment. So I will spend 1 minute that all the barriers which we just discussed, we can actually try to curb them if we are aware about it. That so being a good listener is your responsibility. You are a good listener or not, so this is your responsibility, because if you are a good listener, you can be a good leader, good boss, good employee, good husband, good boyfriend, girlfriend. Believe me or not, everything is important in life, and everything is dependent on the good listening skill. So if you are aware that you are not good listener, there are certain factors which are beyond our control, like hindrances in the view, or some kind of physical impairment. But if you are aware that you are not a good listener, please be aware of it. Accept this thing that you are a poor listener, and then work on it. Practice to be good listener. That's what I personally did, and I worked on it, and I think I am able to overcome this by this time, over these years. And then preempt. Try to control the environmental challenges. If you are going to speak to your boss is calling, and you have kids around who will make noise, leave that place, go to another room to listen to your boss conversation, right? So we should preempt the situation, and so couple of semantic barriers, couple of physical barriers can be taken care, right? So with this, I will like to close the session for that day, and I'm sure this would help you to understand that what all barriers do we have around, and there are a couple of barriers certainly which are in your hand, and you can take care of them, and you can become good listener. Thank you very much, friends. Have a good day.